Hello, thank you for joining me today. My name is Janice. I'm a yoga therapist and a fitness instructor. Today we're going to do a gentle yoga practice to help ease some of the joints in the body, do a little bit of stretching, and to just generally kind of feel the body and be present in the body. And so I'm going to give you a couple tips on how we're going to sit today, and we are going to work on our feet. So that could be a dowel. I'm going to use a dowel today, but you could be using a little tennis ball, squash ball, dog toy. I mention this a lot, how important it is to get into the feet a little bit. So I'm going to use a dowel, which is just a fancy word for a stick. And then the other thing I'm going to talk about a little bit is how we're sitting in the chair. If you're a very tall person, you might want to put even more than a blanket on your chair. So it could be like a cushion or a pillow. Sometimes in my classes, I'll give people something like a foam block to sit on, just to raise them up a little bit. So be curious about that. The other thing that happens in the chair when we sit forward, and I do talk a lot about this as well, you could certainly have your cushion, your blanket all the way to the edge of the chair. And then if we sit at the chair, we're going to try to sit up tall. That's one option. The other option, which sometimes helps people have a little bit more of that gentle tilt of the pelvis forward, which helps keep the natural curve in the spine, that might mean that you experiment, and I encourage you to experiment, find something that's comfortable for you, is that I'm going to move the blanket back a little. My sit bones are going to be on this, but just that little bit there, my sit bones are on the blanket. And then that might help me just kind of easily let the pelvis tilt a little bit forward. So take a moment to notice what would be comfortable for you. And we are going to start with our bodies a little bit away from the chair. And so if this is not available to you, certainly feel free to sit back in the chair. But if we do sit at the edge of the chair, we have a little more weight in the feet. And by sitting up tall, we're starting to strengthen those important muscles along the spine that help us stand tall, sit tall. So I'm going to encourage you to just take that moment to find that position for yourself. Okay? All right. Yeah. Wonderful. So we're going to just take a moment to connect into seated mountain. We're going to practice seated mountain today and standing mountain pose. Mountain pose is just a way to feel stable and rooted and grounded. So taking a moment to notice the sit bones, noticing maybe are you sitting as evenly as you can on both sit bones. And then maybe the feet are about hip width apart. And I have my knee under my ankle, so I kind of have a 90-degree angle here. You notice I have these toe spreaders in, and these help to increase the awareness and openness of the foot, which often over time our toes going to get scrunched together. These are not necessary. I find them helpful personally for myself, but everybody's different. If you don't have these on, what you could do, see if it's available to lift the toes, gently spread them out, keep them wide, and then place the foot back on the mat or on the floor. Yeah, and then taking a moment as you sit up here, we'll just take a moment with the shoulders and roll them a couple times. So sliding the shoulder up, gently back, gently down. And then feel free, if it doesn't cause any discomfort for you, to close the eyes for a moment. Taking the awareness into the shoulders, sliding up, back, and down. And then we're going to try, and the next time, we're going to do 3 shoulder shrugs. If the eyes are closed, you might want to open them. We're going to take a breath in and let the shoulders come up. On the exhale, letting them fall. Good. Inhale in the nose, out the mouth. Good. One more. Good. I'm going to let the shoulders roll up, back, and down. Bring the elbows close, palms up. Encouraging the shoulders to slide down and under. Just take a moment to bring the hands to the heart center. Now I have my palms pressing into each other, but I do have space between my fingers, so I don't have them all together. It's optional. And I'm very lightly pressing them into each other. Just like 30% effort, just a little bit of pressing. I'm going to think of the back of the neck lengthening. And for myself, I find it helpful to close the eyes, but this is really personal to everybody. So again, if you're comfortable, you might close your eyes once again. And just taking a moment to notice the feet. Just gently pressing into the floor to give you some centered and rooted sensation. Taking a moment now to shift your weight or your awareness to the sit bones. Just noticing if we can sense the body weight and the sit bones rooting down into your seat, into the cushion below you. And think from the belly button up, we're lengthening. So from the belly button down, we're kind of rooting down into the ground, into the chair. And from the belly button up, we're lengthening the spine. Yeah. And then just taking 3 breaths, just noticing how is your breath today in a comfortable breathing pattern that works for you. Is it in the nose, out the mouth? Is it in the nose, out the nose? Yeah, one more breath, kind of noticing the rising or the expansion of the inner body as you breathe in. And the soft letting go of the body as you breathe out. Good. And then when you're ready, if your eyes are closed, I'll invite you to open them. And I'm going to take my hands to my thighs. So we're going to work on our feet. And so for me, I'm using the dowel, but this could be whatever implement you decide to use. I would even say like a can of, or a water bottle, stainless steel water bottle. Anything that you can roll onto the bottom of the foot will work. They do actually make fascia balls for the feet, but you don't necessarily have to buy anything specific. So I'm going to place my foot on the dowel or ball or whatever you're using, still at the edge of the chair. My hands are on my thighs just to give me some support. And I'm just going to start with rolling through the foot. Generally speaking, when we kind of send a little more awareness into the feet, this can help us with our balance and just really connecting into the body as a whole from the feet all the way to the crown of the head. And so just kind of go slow. If you have an injury in the foot, you might be avoiding a spot. If you have neuropathy or a loss of sensation in the foot, just be gentle. You might not necessarily know how much pressure you're putting into the foot. If you encounter pain in any movement we do that's anywhere sharp, tingly, really uncomfortable, or you can't take a deep breath, give yourself permission to back off. Try doing less. And if that's still not working for you, then I would encourage you maybe to leave it out for today. So I'm going to find a spot in the inner foot, somewhere in the arch. I'm going to sit up tall. If it's appropriate for you, we can deepen the stretch or deepen that sensation in the foot by hinging forward. So I'm going to take a breath. On the exhale, I'm going to hinge forward just till I have a little more weight and I can sense that pressure in my foot. Good. When you're ready to come up, I'm going to press into the thighs to let the body come up. Yeah. And I'm just going to see about moving it around a little more. Maybe I can get the outer edge of the foot, noticing if that feels different. Yeah, going all the way up and down the foot. And then we're going to take a moment to move into the other foot. So we're just doing kind of a shorter version of this footwork today. But just know that, this is really great work that you could do every day. Maybe 5 minutes in the morning or 5 minutes at night or both, maybe, depending. So as you make contact with the other foot, just kind of taking a moment to send your awareness there. How is the foot feeling for you today? What can you sense? And so in yoga, we're building our awareness of our posture, our proprioception, where the body is in the room, in space. But we're also starting to connect into the subtler sensations within the body that come up as we move and stretch and breathe. And this will change over time. Sometimes when we start moving in a certain part of the body, there might not be a lot of sensory awareness there. So there is no right or wrong in this practice. This is an inquiry practice. I'm encouraging you to inquire, to notice, how does this feel? What am I feeling? Is this a comfortable feeling? Is this manageable for me? Do I need to back off? Do I need to leave something out? So I'm going to find a spot in the foot where I can really sense maybe kind of in the inner arch of the foot. You could change it every time. So somewhere where you think it's an interesting spot to rest the dowel or your ball. And then I'm going to take that forward fold. So hands on my thighs, I'm going to take a deep breath. Exhaling forward as I lean into the ball or the dowel, just taking a moment to notice the foot. How does that feel? Yeah. And coming up in your time, so pressing into the thighs to come up. I'm going to go through the foot one more time. Go. That's it. All the way through. Good. Yeah, and then as soon as I feel like I've had enough of that, I'm going to move the ball or the dowel out of the way. Forget about the outer edge of the foot. Okay, so I'm going to take the dowel and just place it maybe just somewhere safely out of the way for yourself. Okay. All right. So I'm still sitting a little bit on the edge of the chair. And I always like to start with rocking chair because it's a really nice way to start working with the awareness of the pelvis and how our pelvis moves front and back. And this can help hydrate the lower back and all the connective tissue around the lower lumbar spine. So my feet are hip width apart, my knees under my ankle, my hands are on my thigh bones, not on my knee. I'm going to sit up tall, take a breath. The exhale, I'm going to hinge forward. Hands are on the thighs. I'm going to lift the heels if that works for your body. Pressing into the thigh bones, I'm going to come up. I might gently tuck my chin into my chest and lean back a little and lift the toes just a little bit. I'm going to try that 2 more times. Inhaling up, exhale forward, lifting the heels a little bit. Inhaling up and down. Good. Take a breath. Exhaling back, inhaling up, exhaling forward. My cues to breathe are just suggestions. So if you want to breathe in a different pattern, please feel free. My one encouragement to you, though, is to notice, are you holding the breath? So if you do notice that come up, maybe the movement is a little too much, maybe you need to take a break, or sometimes we just have to remind ourselves, oh, breathe. Sometimes when we're doing something new, we sort of focus just on the movement and we kind of hold the breath. So just kind of notice that. Good. Wonderful. And then as you come back up to center, I'm going to just take a moment, a little shoulder roll. So what I wanted to talk about today is about some of the connective tissue and how sometimes doing less is much, much more. This really pertains to the neck itself. And I am very much one of these people I'm like, oh yeah, I feel the stretch, I'm going to stretch more. But oftentimes, if we've reached that point of really quite deep sensation, even if it's not feeling painful, but we're feeling that maximum sensation, what happens in the body is that it kind of gets a little bit protective and starts holding and bracing. So if we're trying to let a little bit of the connective tissue and the muscle relax, less is more. So I'm really encouraging you with this neck stretch, which you might have done before, I'm encouraging you to not go into your fullest range of motion first and just see what that's like. So I'm just going to let my arms rest on my thighs. The other option is letting the arms rest at the sides, like so. It's up to you. All right, so I'm going to look straight ahead. And the first part of this is I'm going to allow my right ear to just very slowly move to the right. Not very much. Just till I feel something. So if I went a little further now, I'm like, ooh, I feel a lot of pulling. Feels like quite a stretch, but I'm going to back out of that. So that's a little too much. I'm going to encourage you here with the ear is just moving gently over towards the shoulder a little bit. To check in. Perhaps close the eyes. And take 2 breaths here. And just notice how maybe the breath facilitates the body to soften a little bit more. Encourage the jaw and the face to be soft and relaxed. Good. Okay. So the second part of this movement, we're going to keep the head tilted over to the right. But the second part of this is sort of rotating the head down towards the ground, or as if I'm going to bring my chin towards that right shoulder. So I'm just very slowly starting to let my chin move towards the right shoulder, just until I find a spot that I'm like, oh, okay, I feel something. I'm going to encourage my face to soften, and I take another sigh breath. Maybe one more. Good. Coming out just like we went in. So first I'm just going to turn the chin back to that first position so my head is still tilted over to the side. This little tip here is really helpful for keeping the neck relaxed. So I'm just going to show you, and you might want to watch me first. I'm going to take my right hand to the side of my right head, kind of like I'm resting my head in the pillow, my hand's a pillow. And then I'm going to let my hand help bring my neck back up. So it's just a way to help keep the muscles from overactivating to come out, is that I think of resting my head in my hand like a pillow, and then letting the hand help me bring the neck back to center. And then taking a few moments here with the shoulders, little movements. Good. And then we'll try the other side. So sitting up tall, I'm going to take my left ear very slowly and gently over towards my left shoulder. If I'm feeling a lot of pull on that right side, I'm going to back up a bit. Really, less is more here. And I really encourage you, this is the hardest part for people, I find, is doing less. We always think like 100% is better than 10 or 50%, but I'm really encouraging you to work at like 60% effort rather than that 110%. So encourage the jaw to soften, and then just see if it's available. We're going to start turning the head. So it's still tilted to the side, but now I'm going to be turning the chin to move down towards that left shoulder. So I feel something. You could be feeling it on one side, both sides, you name it. You might close your eyes, encourage all the muscles in the face to soften. Take one more sigh breath here. Yeah. Good. And then when you're ready, slowly, the head goes back to that first tilted position. Taking my left hand to the side of my left head here, so like I'm leaning into a pillow, and then using the hand to help me bring the head back up to center. A little roll. Good. All right. Good. So let's take our first movement today, which I thought we could do a moving version of spinal warm-up. So your spine moves in three sort of main ways. It extends and flexes. That's one way. It twists. That's one way. And then it also does a little bit of side bending, side to side. So this movement, we've done it in previous videos, but we're going to do it together here, and we're going to do one of each, and we'll do the set 3 times. So you'll have the opportunity to kind of take a break if you choose. You might move faster than my cue, that's also fine, or slower. So my arm's up like so. I'm going to start with my right hand, and I'm going to push my right hand straight out in front of me and back. So this one, maybe you'll be sensing some stretch, and then the left hand in the ligaments. Good. Now the right hand is pushing across to the left. So we're sensing maybe a little bit of a twist happening, just a tiny bit in the body. And then left hand across to the right. Okay, now I'm going to take my right hand up across, left hand up across. Got it. Now the right hand is going to reach down across, so it's going to get a little bit of rounding, a little stretch for your back. And then the left hand reaching down across. Good. That's it. So let's try that one more time. So right hand out and in, left hand out and in. Just going in a range of motion that works for your shoulders and your wrists. Reaching up across with the right arm, up across with the left arm. Down across with the right arm, down across with the left arm. Good. Now let's try it one more time. Out in front with the right hand, out in front with the left. Good. Pushing across with the right, Kind of notice there might be some shifting in the sit bones, cross with the left. Remember, this is a practice of inquiry, inquiring. What do you feel in the body? Do you feel the weight shifting? What's stretching? That's it. And now we're reaching down across with the right hand. A little bit of a slouch is fine. And then the left hand reaching down across. Very good. That's it. Very good. I'm going to take my hands back to heart center. Good. So one thing I'll also mention with the shoulder is if we're doing a big arm movement and your shoulder just does not want to do that, please listen to your body first, and my suggestions come second, always. So it might be that you get this far and your shoulder won't go any further. So it might be that you go, okay, I can go to here and I'll just bring my arms back to center. Maybe they don't go all the way overhead. Maybe that never happens. So use the movements and then modify them to suit what's happening for you in this moment. So I'm going to bring my hands to the heart center. Good. I'm going to reach them down, and I'm just going to see if I can take a deep breath and extend my arms up and back down. Good. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to take a breath. Good. Maybe one more. Take a breath. Good. Well, let's try the lotus one. We did this a few weeks ago. So I'm going to make a little flower bud. So you can see if my hands can go from flat to kind of curling in. Think of them making a little flower. And now I'm going to offer up and out to the sides. So we're just kind of reversing the movement of the shoulder and the arms. Fingers opening, offering up and out. And we'll try that one more time. Letting that flower open, offering it up and out and in. That's it. Good. And then see if it's comfortable for you to lace your hands together and stretch your hands forward. It's kind of like our cat-cow move, our cat move. You're kind of leaning into your upper back, chin towards your chest, stretching the arms. If the fingers don't lace, you could just stretch them out like so, or even like so. Good. When you're ready to come up, we'll just slowly sit up and let the arms come back to your legs. A little shoulder roll. So let's move into our three main movements. So cat-cow is the oldest recorded yoga exercise. And so I'm going to start with my hands on my knees. I'm going to encourage the hands to slide towards the hips, sitting up tall. I might look a little bit up, sort of a little bit of a stretch in the back of the neck, but always avoiding overflexion of the neck. So just kind of looking up, taking a breath. Now I'm going to slide the hands forward. As I do that, I'm going to lean into my upper back, chin towards my chest. So I'm feeling the stretch in the upper shoulders as I stretch the arms over the knees. On the inhale, the hands slide down the thigh bones towards the body, elbows kind of behind me. Exhale, rounding the spine, chin towards your chest, stretching the arms over the knees. Good. Try two more, and you might even close your eyes. You might even slow it down. There's just so much going on in this movement. And then sliding the arms forward, leaning into the upper back, chin towards your chest. Good. And the last time, sliding the hands towards the hips, sitting up tall. Exhale, sliding the hands forward, rounding the spine, chin towards your chest. Good. And as you come back to center, a little shoulder roll. So we'll do our gentle twist. So I'm going to start with my right hand. I'm going to slide the right hand towards my right hip and let the body turn. And I'm going to allow my head to come with me. So my head is coming with me. So I'm following the movement. The whole body is involved. If you'd like to add the breathing, you could think of inhaling to center and then exhaling as you let the body turn. Inhale to center. And exhale to turn in the other direction. Good. Yeah, if you're comfortable, try the last one with your eyes closed. As you gently slide the hand towards the hip and turn, what can you sense in your spine or anywhere in the body? And last time to the left. Good. That's it. Very good. Wonderful. Good. And so we'll go into our wider stretch for the spine here, or our side body. And so as I widen the feet, so I kind of have like a V position with the thighs. You might have to readjust where you're sitting on the chair so you don't feel like you're sliding out of the chair. So I'm going to sit up tall, and the first thing we're going to do is the side stretch on this side. So the first thing I'm going to do is sit up tall and then just start leaning over to the right. And it might be that my right forearm can rest on my thigh. This might be too much stretch. Might feel the sensation is too much. So that might mean that you just lean over a bit and that maybe your hand is the support. But for a lot of people, this feels okay. So I've got my forearm on my thigh, feeling the little stretch here. If your shoulder is injured or just doesn't want to cooperate with you today, you can just keep it at your side. If you're curious, you can bring the arm out in front, and we're going to slice it around and back. And we're just going to try that one 2 more times. Slicing the arm in front of me and towards the knee and back. Yeah, I'm going to try that 1 more time. Last time, slicing the arm in front and over and back. So as I come up, I'm going to sit up tall and take a moment, shoulders rolling up, back and down. As I sit up tall, I'm leaning over to the other side now. So I'm going over, finding that resting position for the forearm. And there's a little stretch in this area. And so just take a moment to check in that this feels manageable. If the shoulder allows, you can bring the arm out, palms facing down, and I'm just slicing the arm in front of me. Just go as far as you feel comfortable, and then back. So it's important to know as we move in this way, and in any yoga movement, that there is no destination. We're not trying to get anywhere. I'm just encouraging you to feel your body in this moment and find movements that are manageable for you to breathe into. And that's it. So when you're ready, come up. All right, last one, we'll do this one as our side stretch. So pull up your socks stretch, hands on the thigh, turning the body to the right a little bit here, sliding the hands down the leg. I'm going to keep my head in line with my heart, so I'm avoiding dropping the head down. I'm going to try that 2 more times. Good. Find your breath. That's it. And when you come back to center, we'll turn to the left. So turning a little bit to the left, I'm going to slide the hands down the leg, feeling the stretch, and coming back up again. I'm going to try that 2 more times. Yeah. That's it. Last time. Good. Great. Wonderful. And then when you're ready, you can bring your feet back to their first position. Good. And then just taking a moment once again to sit up tall. We're going to take a moment now to stretch the back of the neck. So we've stretched the side muscles, and then when we turned it, we get a little bit more into the deeper ones that come around. Now we're just going to be drawing our chin to our chest from that supported forward position. So I'm going to keep my feet flat on the floor for this one. And I'm going to think of hinging at the hip crease forward. And I'm just going to see if my forearms now will rest comfortably on my thighs. So if this is comfortable for you, the first thing to do would be to just look straight down at the space between your feet or at your hands. And then if you're comfortable, just very slowly, I'm going to start drawing my chin towards my chest until I feel some sensation in the neck. It really doesn't take much for me. And then I'm just going to take 3 breaths here. Good. So when you're ready to come out, and take a moment to look straight down at the floor, bring my hands to the thighs. I'm going to press into the thighs to slowly come up, going back into the little shoulder roll. Just a couple more movements to warm up the shoulder, and then we'll do a little bit more for the knee today and the ankle. So, okay, so I'm going to hold my opposite elbows. I think we've done this one in a little recent practice. So I'm going to encourage you now to start, and it could be that you're holding your wrists or your forearms. So maybe if this isn't available, just see where it is available for you. Just kind of like rocking the baby. A little side to side. So if you have an injury, there might be a spot where you just notice the body starts tensing up or it just won't go any further. That's okay. Remember, this is a practice in inquiry. That might mean that your movement stays this big. Really important to find movements that are available. And in fact, if we do movements that are not causing us to kind of tense up and strain, you're going to get a whole lot more benefit into those layers of connective tissue around the muscle, around maybe the potential injury that you're working through. So pushing through is just never an option in this type of a class. We're just trying to be really curious about what feels all right for us to do. That's it. And so for some people, that whole sort of range of motion, going up and around and down, that might feel fine. Let's try the other direction 2 times. So the elbows go out to the side and up and around. That's it. And I'm going to try that one more time. Up and around. That's it. Very good. And then once my arms come back to the center, I'm going to shake them up a little bit. So something else that's really helpful, if you have neck, wrist, any kind of tension in the hand or the wrist or the shoulder or the neck, just get people to do this one. Puppy paws. So it's kind of like you're just letting your wrist be as floppy as possible, which if there is an injury and or stiffness there, it might not be very floppy today. That's okay. And then turning the palms up, try the same thing. And then today for flicking the goo, I thought we could add a little bit of movement. So with one hand at a time, I'm kind of flicking the hand as if there was something gross on my fingers. Flick, flick. I'm going to go a little higher to a comfortable height that's comfortable for my shoulder. And on the way down, palms are facing forward, and I'm going to do a little bit of a wave. So the shoulder, the elbow, even the sit bones might get involved. I'm going to do it 2 more times. Flick, 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 and the wave. Working with the wrists, shoulder, elbow. Good. Last one. Flicking, flick, 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 and the wave down. That's it. Very good. Wonderful. And then the last one that's really nice for the wrist, shoulder, and the whole arm, really. Fingertips touching. I'm going to imagine my elbows. Sometimes if they're too much out to the side, you feel some activation in those upper traps. So what you can do is just relax the elbows as if they're pointing a little towards your knees. Yeah. And I'm just pressing the fingertips into each other gently. And then I'm just going to see what kind of movement I can get. So my bicep is moving. The elbow's moving. The forearm is moving, the wrist is moving, the hand is moving. It's quite a big movement here. You can explore where those elbows feel comfortable. Good. Wonderful. Now I'm going to encourage you to imagine you're holding the sides of a slinky. I'm going to pull it apart as far as you can go comfortably. And then as we bring the slinky back, you're going to give yourself a hug. One arm is going to come on top. Big hug. Big breath. I'm going to hinge forward. You might choose to lift your heels to get an extra stretch in your lower back. When you're ready to come up, take a big breath. As the heels come down. Good. Notice which arm is on top. We'll do the other side. So you're going to take a big breath. Exhale, bring the other arm on top. Big hug for yourself. However that feels here. Take a breath. Exhaling forward. Heels might lift as you come forward. Chin might even tuck into the chest a bit. And then when you're ready, slowly coming up And the heels coming down. Yeah, and then the arms can come to rest. Good. Okay. So I wanted to talk a little bit about knees today. And we haven't really done a lot of talking about the knee. So for this part of the practice, I'm going to encourage you to sit all the way back in the chair. So you can notice that, right, for this part of the practice, I've been sitting forward because it gives me movement, right? I can move my body, whereas if I was sitting right at the back of the chair, I wouldn't be able to do that. But when we're working with these next movements, you might want to scoot all the way to the back of the chair. So you're sitting up comfortably, but you have more support and your whole body is resting back into the chair. And then we're just going to take one foot out in front of you and just do some circles. Some little ankle movements. One way and the other. A little pointing and flexing. Good. And then bringing that foot down. Now just be mindful as you extend the leg, maybe you only want to lift it a couple inches off the ground. Maybe putting it all the way out in front of you is too much. So just know you can modify how high the foot goes. Maybe it's just barely hovering off the ground as you do some little circles. Just noticing, does the ankle feel stiff today? There might be some limitations there. If you've had an injury or surgery or a break in the ankle. Pointing and flexing. That's it. Very good. Okay, so I'm going to bring my foot back to the floor. Now we're going to work with talking about the knee. So I'm going to move back to here. As I sit back in the chair and sit up tall, I'm going to take one leg out. I'm just going to see how far. So for some people, full extension will feel fine. For some people, it's going to be maybe halfway or even less. I'm going to encourage you to reach through your heel so that we're stretching through the back line. So we're getting a little hamstring calf stretch. And I'm just going to slowly see if I can move the leg a little bit up and down. Small range of motion just to notice what's happening in the knee. That's it. Good. Yeah, and then just see. We'll try that on the other side a few times. So as that leg comes back, if you've had one knee that's had a knee replacement or you have an injury, one side might feel very different. You might have a different range of motion. Reaching through the heel if I can to feel the stretch in the back of the leg. And then I'm going to slowly lower it up and down. Then be mindful of any other sensations that come up. So if I extend my leg fully and it's causing me any hip pain or low back pain, then I'm going to put a little bend in the knee. So always finding range of motion that's suitable. One of the main philosophies in yoga in Sanskrit is sthira sukham asanam. Loosely translated, means to be doing yoga is to find a balance between effort and effortlessness. So if there's too much effort, take a break. Then we're not in that practice. We want enough effort that our minds and our bodies are engaged and challenged to some degree. But we don't want so much engagement that we're sort of bracing the body, stiffening up, creating tension. Effortless effort is sort of the philosophy I want you to think about a little bit. So we're going to do a little neuroplasticity exercise, which is just opposite sides of the body. When we use our upper body and lower body in coordination, different parts of the brain have to cooperate with each other. And so neuroplasticity could be anything from a crossword puzzle or some of these exercises we're going to do here. Anything that challenges the brain to create a new pathway is a neuroplasticity exercise. So I'm going to bring my hands to my knees and I'm just going to see about where my arm can float comfortably. It might just be out in front of me. For some people it might go all the way up. Okay? Palms are facing inward. Just see. So establish a range of motion for your arm to move where you don't feel your shoulder tensing up or starting to lift up towards your ear. So notice that. If you start to notice that creeping shoulder, I'm going to encourage you to find a smaller range of motion. Effortless effort. So just try that one more time on the other side, encouraging the shoulder to stay relaxed. Good. Okay. So we're going to add the lower body. Opposite arm to opposite leg. Yeah. So I'm extending my right leg and my left arm. Yeah. And I'm going to add some breathing. Breathing in And the opposite side. Good. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Good. One more on either side. Breathing in and out. And breathing in and out. Good. Very good. Wonderful. So we have at this point really articulated most of our major joints: hands, wrists, shoulder, knee, ankle, spine, hip. So we're going to come up to standing. If at any time you decide, I don't want to stand today, you could just stop here. You've done a 40-minute practice. That might be enough for you today. But I wanted to give you a little additional movement and a little bit of strengthening muscles, strengthening of the outer hip for balance. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to practice getting out of a chair. We do this every week. And so I'm going to scoot to the edge of the chair. Then I'm going to see if I can bring my heels a little closer to the chair, but keep my heels on the ground. So if you bring your feet so close that your heels are lifted, then I would encourage you to not bring them that close. Everybody's different, so you might be using the sides of your armchair or the sides of the seat to help you get up. You might be adding a little bit of a rocking motion in the body. You might be reaching your arms out in front of you. I'm going to hinge at the hip crease forward. Once my nose is over my knees and I feel more weight in my heels, that's when I'm going to press into my feet to come to standing. So I'm going to encourage you to try that 2 or 3 times within a range of comfort for yourself. So to get back in the chair, I'm going to bend the knees. I'm going to make sure the chair's there. I'm going to take a look at where it is. And now I'm going to hinge at the hip, shift my weight into my heels, stick my sit bones way back, double check that the chair is there before I sit down. That might mean that you want your hands beside you, okay? So I'm going to do it 2 more times. I'm going to hinge forward from the hip crease, press into the heels, standing up. The slower you do these, the more muscle it takes. So then I'm going to check the chairs there. I'm going to bend the knees a tiny bit. Hinging at the hip crease, I'm going to hinge forward, shift my weight into the heels, slowly make contact with the chair. 1 more time, I'm going to try that. Hinging forward, pressing into the heels to stand up, and I'm going to stay standing. Good. So before I start walking, I'm going to bend my knees, sink into the feet, and when I feel a little bit grounded and stable, I'm going to press into the heels and straighten the legs. I'm going to come around to the back of my chair. So your slow walking meditation, maybe today, you can just think of lifting the foot, moving the foot, heel, stepping. Lifting the foot, moving the foot, heel, stepping. Lifting, moving, placing, stepping. So you might want to come around to the back of your chair. If you're using a walker, you might stay in the front of your chair and just put your brakes on. So that's an option. I'm going to move the chair so you can see me. But as you're practicing today, I want you to make sure that you have something nearby that if you were to feel a little off balance, that you can just... It's amazing how even one finger on the chair can really help people feel sturdy, whereas if there's no chair there, less stability. Some of this is sort of in the mind as well, as balance is part of our focus and our concentration. And there's a whole host of other reasons why balance is a complex issue for people. So we want to set ourselves up for success. So you might have a chair behind you and a walker in front. Might have a countertop in front of you, or a chair, or a sofa, something. All right, so I'm going to move the chair just so you can see me. Okay, so keep your chair in front of you. And the first thing we're going to do today is just have our feet at hip width apart. Okay, we're going to find mountain pose from standing. So we did mountain pose seated. Now we're going to take it up to a standing position. So the first thing I'm going to do, if you are comfortable with this, you could try lifting up your toes, spreading them out, and placing them on the floor. Then I'm going to bend my knees a little bit as if I was sinking all of my foot, all of my roots down through the heel, ball of the foot, sides of the feet, down into the ground. Yeah, good. So I have my knees a little bit bent. I'm going to place my hands on my hips. Could even be one hand on the hip and one hand on the chair if you want that little bit of stability. And I'm just going to see if I can move my tailbone a little bit behind me and a little bit towards the ground. So I have a little knee bend. So I'll show you from the side. I'm doing pelvic tilts. So I have my knees bent, and I'm just letting my tailbone tuck a little under and a little back, within a range of motion that does not feel uncomfortable for you. Good. Now I want you to think now, as we straighten the legs, I want you to think of your tailbone gently moving down towards the floor. Press the heels into the ground. Activate that muscle just above your knee. So you feel like from the hips down, you are like a mountain. You're pressing through the heels. From the hips down, you are strongly rooted into the floor. And then maybe the hands come to the heart center. You could even keep one hand on the chair in front of you if you need to. Pressing the palms into each other. Back of the neck is lengthened. So from the waist up, I'm going to think of a string pulling me up to the sky. So I'm rooting down through the heels, lengthening through the crown of the head. That's it. Very good. And now we'll just take a moment. We're going to see if we can bring the hands to the chair in front of you. So I got my magical imaginary support in front of me. And I'm going to slowly shift my weight onto my right leg. And then I'm going to come back to center and shift my weight onto my left leg. So my feet aren't really moving. I'm just shifting my body weight. So if that's comfortable for you to do, we're going to shift the weight over to that right leg. And I'm going to bend my right knee a little bit. And I'm going to make sure this is comfortable for me. I can have my hands on the chair in front of me or the sofa or whatever you're using for support. We're going to do some leg extensions on the other side. So I'm just going to see if I can extend my left leg out to the side and back. Now, you might want to put the foot down and rest in between each one if this is putting a lot of weight on your knee or your hip on the right side. Or you could try 6 without that leg coming to the ground. So we're doing a weight-bearing activity, which means we're adding extra body weight to the right leg, which helps with bone density. But we're standing on one leg, which causes balance, helps cultivate balance, and we're strengthening the outer hip. And then take a break. Yeah. Sometimes after I use that standing leg, I'll even just shake them out a little bit, one at a time, whatever you need to do there. And then we'll try the other side. So I'm going to bend the knees, kind of sink into the feet, and then I'm going to shift my body weight to the right leg. I like to keep the knee bent. I find if my leg is locked, hard on the knee, and I don't feel as stable as if I have that little bend. Just explore that for yourself. Okay, so you're standing tall, rooting into the heel of that left foot. The right leg is slowly moving out to the side. It does not have to be a big action. We want it to be slow and mindful. Because sometimes I'll see people kind of throw themselves into this. So slower is more muscle building than quick. So slow movement. Take a break if you need to. Yeah, we're aiming for 6, and this next one will be 6. Good. That's it. Very good. Shake out the legs. Very good. Okay. Wonderful. So you're at the back of your whatever you have for support. Our last movement standing today is one more weight-bearing activity and weight-shifting activity. So I'm going to take my right foot. I'm just going to step it a little bit in front, just as if I was going to take a step. So just like that. Not much. I'm going to bend the knees a little bit. I might be holding the chair in front of me. I'm shifting my weight onto the right foot. The back heel might lift. And then I'm going to shift my weight onto the back foot, and the front toes might lift. Both my knees are slightly bent through this movement. So I'm just getting used to the sense of my body weight shifting from the back foot to the front foot. That's it. Good. Okay. Wonderful. So we're going to add on to this, and again, you can leave anything out at any time. You could just stay with the shifting weight, or I like to call this the flamingo. So like the bird. So I'm going to shift my weight forward onto the right foot, have a little bit of a bend, and I'm going to bend the left leg. So kind of like a flamingo. And I'm just going to hold this for 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Now I'm going to put my left foot back on the floor. I'm going to shift my weight back onto the left foot. Yeah, Yeah, and then I'm just going to see if I can lift my right leg. Could be holding onto the chair for 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Take a moment. Bring the feet back to center, shake them out. We'll do the other side. So the first part is weight shifting. So just imagine you're going to take your left foot is going to step a little bit forward, just as if you were going to take a step. Bend both knees, just that little micro bend. And then just play with your weight shifting forward and back. And just start with that. And that might be where you stay today. You might say, oh, I don't want to stand on one leg today. For whatever reason. It could be that this aggravates your hip, your back. Good. If it is feeling all right for you, this time as we shift forward, we'll do the flamingo, like the bird. So I'm shifting forward, I'm standing on the left leg. I'm going to bend the right leg. I can have as much of a bend as I need. Really, that helps sink down into my roots and my foot rather than locking the knee, which is much harder to balance. 3, 2, 1. Good. I'm going to shift my weight to the back foot now. So I'm shifting my weight to the right foot at the back. And I'm just going to see if I can lift that right leg, however high it feels comfortable for you. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Very good. Wonderful. Shake it out. And then we're going to come back around to have a seat. So you're going to walk back around, and this is another opportunity to be mindful of your walking. So the meditation that I learned for walking, and the slower you do it, the harder it is. So certainly you can find a pace for yourself. But really the function of walking is lifting the foot, moving the foot, placing the heel, stepping. Lifting the foot, moving the foot, placing the heel, stepping. So when I was practicing the walking meditation in a workshop, it was lifting, moving, placing, stepping. Lifting, moving, placing, stepping. So just take that moment to walk mindfully around to the front of your chair. And then we're going to sit all the way back in the chair for a little relaxation. So make sure that you've got lots of space here. You're going to hinge at the hip crease, sticking your bum way out over the chair, making contact with the chair. Okay, you're going to sit all the way back as we take a moment to finish your practice today. You really did a whole body workout. And we've been working a lot with just using your mindful, natural breathing practice. And so we're going to continue on with that. And as we move forward, I'll talk a little bit more about breath practices. But for our final breath practice today, I'm just going to encourage you to let your exhale become a little bit longer than your inhale. So it might look like breathing in, exhaling through the mouth, so, like you did, maybe close your eyes and just take a nice deep breath in. And just let it be natural and comfortable, but it's slower than your inhale. Yeah, try 2 more like that, where you let the slow exhale through the mouth. Some people will purse the mouth and blow like they're blowing through a straw slowly. Looks like this. Try 1 more. Good. Yeah, and then just sitting all the way back in your chair. Let's finish with 3 sigh breaths with the shoulders shrug. Shoulders up and down. Shoulders up and down. 1 more. Good. So you might even rest one palm in your lap and the other hand. However you'd like to sit back, really leaning into the back of the chair. Thinking of your head just floating lightly on your neck. And your arms just falling loosely at your sides of your shoulders. Encourage all the muscles in your face to soften. Encourage your jaw to soften and Sense that sort of unhinging sensation in the jaw. Just noticing the weight of your body and your weight of your feet maybe on the floor, the weight of the sit bones on the chair, maybe even the contact with your back to the back of your supporting chair. Take a moment to notice the temperature of the room on your skin. Take a moment now to shift your awareness to your breath, your spontaneous breath as it comes in, expanding the inner body. As it comes out, a letting go, surrendering, retreating. And lastly, taking a moment to notice any sensation of or any sounds that you could hear in the space you're in. What is the furthest sound that you can hear? Maybe it's outside. Then taking the awareness, what can you hear in the room you're in? And then taking this last moment, I'm going to make a little sound with the Tibetan bowl here. Use the big bowl first. So inviting in some little bit of movement, could be the fingers, toes, little shoulder movements, could be a bigger breath. Ooh, sometimes yawns are really helpful, and yeah, they're really nice to put in. So feel free to yawn. And then we'll just take a moment to take the hands out to the sides, noticing how the shoulder rolls in as the hands roll in. Think of rolling the thumbs back to encourage the shoulders to open, and then give yourself a big hug. And we'll just hinge forward for a moment. Maybe the heels can lift. And as you come up, just taking a moment with your hands at the heart center, either in the Namaste pose, or it could be the hands over the heart center. And just take a moment. So the first sigh breath here is to just acknowledge the effort that got you to come and practice today. Just taking that one moment to acknowledge the effort, your will to do this practice. A little breath in the nose, out the mouth. One breath to acknowledge your body and all the things it does for you every day, the heartbeats, the breaths. And then one more thing, one sigh breath, one thing that you are grateful for in this moment. Yeah, so just thank you so much for your practice today. And I hope you have a wonderful day and a week. And if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments. And you can subscribe. There's a button down on that left-hand side. If you subscribe, then when new videos come up, they'll pop up on your YouTube page. So thank you for being here. I hope to see you again. Namaste.